Hello, and welcome to Terrace View. May the peace of Christ be with you. It's good to be here with you again, even virtually. I miss you all and send my love to you. Today we honor Mother's Day, and I typically do the messages for our church on Mother's Day, and I'll be honest and tell you that it's difficult sometimes to reflect on Mother's Day in worship, as I know that there's women sitting out there who have chosen to remain single. There are those with someone who cannot bear children. There are those who are single and alone by circumstance, such as death or divorce. And there are those who did not have a good relationship with their mother and find it hard to celebrate this day. I know because I'm one of them. One of those who have been unable to bear children and will never hear a small child's voice say, "Mom." Now that may be true, but God has still put me in a position of motherhood. Sure, it may not have been the way that I had planned, but really only God knows what the plan and what is best for me. He showed me that by placing me in Bryant, Chance, and India's lives, therefore giving me the opportunity to be a mother by being a steward of Chance and India's lives. And boy, has it been rewarding. A steward. I say that word specifically because isn't that what a mother is? A steward over her child's life. Aren't we all stewards of life, as I am quite sure that each and every one of us have made a difference in a child's life? I found a story by an anonymous writer that I'd like to share with you, and I'll also share with you at the end what struck me most about this story. A few months ago, when I was picking up the children at school, another mother that I knew well rushed up to me. Emily was fuming with indignation. "Do you know what you and I are?" she demanded. Before I could answer, and I really didn't have one handy, she blurted out the reason for her question. It seemed she had just returned from renewing her driver's license at the county clerk's office. Asked by the woman recorder to state her occupation, Emily hesitated, uncertain how to classify herself. "What I mean is," explained the recorder, "do you have a job, or are you just a—" "Of course I have a job," snapped Emily. "I am a mother." "We don't list mother as an occupation. Housewife covers it," said the recorder emphatically. I forgot all about her story until one day I found myself in the same situation, this time at our town hall. The clerk was obviously a career woman, poised, efficient, and possessed of a high-sounding title like official interrogator or town registrar. "And what is your occupation?" she probed. What made me say it? I don't know. The word simply popped out. "I'm a research associate in the field of child development and human relations." The clerk paused, ballpoint pen in mid-air, and looked up as though she had not heard right. I repeated the title slowly, emphasizing the most significant words. Then I stared with wonder as my pompous pronouncement was written in bold black ink on the official questionnaire. "Might I ask," said the clerk with new interest, "just what you do in your field?" Coolly, without any trace of fluster in my voice, I heard myself reply, "I have a continuing program of research," what mother doesn't, "in the laboratory and in the field," normally I would have said indoors and out. "I'm working for my master's," the whole darn family, "and already have 4 credits, all daughters." Of course, the job is one of the most demanding in the humanities. Any mother care to disagree? And I often work 14 hours a day. 24 is more like it. But the job is more challenging than most run-of-the-mill careers, and the rewards are in satisfaction rather than just money. There was an increasing note of respect in the clerk's voice as she completed the form, stood up, and personally ushered me toward the door. As I drove into our driveway, buoyed up by my glamorous new career, I was greeted by my lab assistants, aged 13, 7, and 3. And upstairs, I could hear our new experimental model, 6 months, in the child development program testing out a new vocal pattern. I felt triumphant. I had scored a beat on bureaucracy, and I had gone down on the official records as someone more distinguished and indispensable to mankind than just another. Okay, first of all, kudos to that mom for thinking outside the box and coming up with a very creative title. And secondly, here's what struck me about this story. Let's take a look at the position and what it entails. The position is a research associate in child development and human relations. The job description: a continuing program of research and development in the laboratory and in the field. This position is one of the most demanding in the humanities field, with a high opportunity for overtime. This job is more challenging than most run-of-the-mill careers, and the rewards are in satisfactions rather than compensation. On-the-job training is provided, and this position also has the potential to gain credits toward a master's degree. So what do you think about that job description? I think it clearly makes my point that anyone can apply for that job. Why? Because we are all stewards of life. Jesus makes that very clear to us when, from the cross, he established a new relationship between his beloved mother and his beloved disciple. He said to her, "Woman, here is your son," and to the disciple, "Here is your mother." He chose John. Not an uncle or a cousin or a nephew, not even a blood relative. He chose John, a beloved disciple, for her to be a steward over his life. Sure, he may still have had his own mother, but that was not important, because really, how many stewards in our lives do you think we encounter through the years? Isn't there a common phrase that says it takes a village to raise a child? Yes. There are many stewards that we encounter over our lives that have impacted who we are today. And notice how he says, "Woman, here is your son." He calls her woman, not mother, not out of any disrespect to her, but because mother would have been a cutting word to her, who was already wounded with grief. Here he gives us not only our first sense of the suffering a mother goes through, that we need to have an awareness of and be sensitive to, but he also teaches us that a mother can love anyone, be a steward of anyone's life, even if not from her own womb. God is the ultimate steward of life. He sets the example, and we are all children of God. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and fellow heirs with Christ. We have all been called to stewardship. Stewardship encompasses so much more than we think. It is a way of life, and it calls for the integration between our faith and the way that we live our lives. It also is in the way in which we use all of the resources that God has entrusted to our care, so that we can love God and love our neighbor. Stewardship is about love. So today, I celebrate the stewards of life, for all of those who have been mothers to children. And for those of you who are suffering today, know that we are called to be a people who rejoice with those who rejoice, but we are also called to be a people who mourn with those who mourn. Today, our stage in God's shelter is big enough to do both. In honor of that, I leave you with this quote from Kathy Fiscus from Central Lutheran Church in Minneapolis. It brought me into focus on where my sights should be, especially if I start to dwell on what could have been. Stewardship is about love. Stewardship is a matter of heart. My stewardship practices are a response to the boundless love God first showed me. It means that I am grateful for all that God has generously entrusted to me. As a faithful steward and child of God, I understand that it is a privilege to share time and talents, to care for God's children, and to serve my neighbors. Being a good steward has brought me great joy and has helped me grow spiritually. I am blessed to be a blessing. Let us pray. Heavenly Father and Steward of our lives, we ask for your blessing, your comfort, and your grace. For the moms who are struggling, for those filled with incandescent joy, for the moms who are remembering children who have died and pregnancies that miscarried, for the moms who decided other parents were the best choice for their babies, for the moms who adopted those kids and loved them fierce, for those experiencing frustration or desperation and infertility, for those who knew they never wanted kids and the ways they have contributed to our shared world, for those who mothered colleagues, mentees, neighborhood kids, and anyone who needed it, for those remembering moms no longer with us, for those moving forward from moms who did not show love or hurt those they should have cared for. Father of love, remind us that today is a day to honor the unyielding love and care for others we call motherhood, wherever we have found it, and whatever ways we have found to cultivate it within ourselves. Amen.